Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 11th day of July, 2023, Tuesday of the 14th week of the year, the 14th week in Ordinary Time. It is also today the memorial of St. Benedict of Nursia, the founder of the monastic movement, not the first monk ever to exist, or the first person who went off to live by himself ever existed, because there were many before him. But he's the one who kind of began to systematize the understanding of monasticism, of living not necessarily alone, but living alone with others. And so the idea of creating community of those who would be dedicated to the single-minded service of praising God, of prayer, of daily prayer, of work, ora et labora, of to be able to pray and to work, and thereby create a relationship with God that was singular and profound and supremely focused upon that relationship, without the distractions of daily life and things like that. Again, it leads to a whole lot of expressions, a whole lot of experiences. Much division happens within the movement, and different people becoming a little bit more lax, and different groups wanting to become more strict. It unfortunately also becomes one of the targets of the Reformation, because monasteries became very wealthy, and in the Reformation, those kings and princes and dukes who were trying to break from papal influence and nuisance, or whatever it was, basically attacked the monasteries and took their riches and killed many of them. But it all begins simply with Benedict and wanting to find a way to be able to commune with God, to be with God, and to understand God's great work in his life that did not necessarily have the distractions of daily life around it. So remember all of those who are part of that monastic movement today in its various shapes and forms, and the continued building of their relationship with God. Our readings today, again, we focus on Jacob, and as Jacob becomes basically another one of the key patriarchs in the Old Testament of building the relationship with Israel, and building the relationship that Israel has with God. And so today, yesterday was Jacob's ladder. Today, Jacob wrestles with God, which is, again, it's a wonderful kind of image of what it means, in some ways, to get what one needs from God, is that one has to sometimes wrestle with God. And this is what Jacob does. And the thing is that in that wrestling that happens, that again, a man shows up and wants to wrestle him, and he does. And so Jacob seems to be overpowering the man that has shown up. And so to get the upper hand, this man basically touches the sciatic nerve of Jacob and gives him sciatica, and so he's unable to continue the battle. But again, the man turns out to be either messenger of God or God himself, or whatever it is, and Jacob is granted, again, it's like safe passage into this new land. His name is then also changed from Jacob to Israel, again showing the deeper relationship, the deeper connection that Jacob now has with God, and that Jacob recognizes the fact that this place is where he contended with God and won. Although he has sciatica. So again, we can contend with God all the time. It is something, again, from the Old Testament that God permits and that God allows, and that if we are true in what it is that we need and what we want from God, then God will grant that to us, and God will allow us to have the life that we need, and the life and the hopes and dreams that God knows that we need. In the gospel today, Jesus casts out a demon like he does all the time, and people are amazed by it, and then he goes and does a whole lot of other good deeds. And the thing about it is there's nothing really specific, but what is specific about it is that Jesus has pity, and basically he knows that the people need help, and they don't just need special effect help. They need people to guide and to care for them, on a continual basis. And so this idea about the shepherds and those who need to come out to be able to help tend to the sheep of Israel, and to see that they are cared for. Again, what prompts all of this is always pity. Again, Jesus, and pity is, again, that strange word. You don't want to use it too much, because it might seem as though there's a feeling sorry for whatever it is and keeping people in demeaning positions or whatever it is. But his heart is moved. And because Jesus' heart is moved to care, Jesus does. That's how he acts, is out of care, not out of compelling, not out of compulsion, not out of being forced or manipulated, God cares, Jesus cares, and that's how they act, is out of that care. We need to remember that always, because when we forget about that, then it's like we're trying to, again, wrestle with God always, thinking that we're going to lose, or that we are kind of try to have to prove ourselves to be able to have God take notice of us. This gospel is clear. God takes notice of everything and wants to help and wants to care, and that's what God does, because that is who God is. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.